And that has a big, big, big impression, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
You know that too, don't you?
You pray a lot?
Yeah, but it's it's not great big complicated prayers and things. It's definitely. I mean, I know what's going on in this world, and I know there's a God, and I know what's going to happen, and I don't sit down and meditate through all that. But that's why I say I know I can say Jesus, and that's that's just up there
Yeah.
or there wherever he is that day. I don't know.
Probably right next to you. In
Right.
your heart. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got this thing that it's wonderful because it's almost like he can quietly and silently put a little footprint right in there. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Do you know that?
I understand.
And I think that's spectacular. But you don't. I told you about that young man that was going to work with the children's church in Virginia and Reggie's church, didn't I?
I don't remember that.
Well, he's young. He's very vigorous. His father died recently. He was a minister a long time, and he died recently. And they asked this young man to take the church, and I had heard about him somewhat. And then he came over here one day. He's like, boom.
He came here to see you?
Huh?
He came here to see
He
you?
came here and he was telling us what he was doing with the church now. You know, he
Yeah.
was very close to his father,
Uh-huh.
and he was he was. I don't know whether what he said or what, but anyway, he had a lot of thought for the young people, and he was telling me how he was setting it up. Oh, and one of the things, this was interesting, how he was setting it up. It wasn't in writing, I don't think, but that some of the people might be interested in working with some of the younger people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the ones that might get lost in the shuffle.
Mm-hmm.
And he just was here a few minutes.
Yeah.
But he's very vigorous, you know, and I forget what day he was going to start it all. Of course, I didn't get to go or anything, but I thought he had something in him, you know, that was so real, and he wanted to. If there were some people that, well, maybe they didn't have a child, maybe they'd like to help raise a child, you know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and that kind of thing. And I didn't get to go to the church. I don't think Virginia and Reggie go all that much anymore, but I thought he was real interesting.
Mm-hmm.
He's real kind of big, too.
Yeah?
But you could see he had grown up with a... look at that. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I was wondering if you bumped your knuckle or if you
I don't have any
punched somebody
idea.
in the nose or...
No, I don't have any idea because I remember when it happened, but I don't know what, something sharp. But anyway, he had a really enthusiasm, youth enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And he's a strong young man. And because I think, you know, he was very close to his father and learned a lot from him.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to go to church. But anyway,
Do you think that you would want to set up a time to do an outing and leave here and go to church?
You mean like every Sunday?
Even once, just to try it and see if you like it, if you feel okay going out and getting in the car, and I would drive you and take you to a church.
I think I would, knowing the degree that, you know, where things have been recently, it would be a challenge.
Yeah,
But it's the only way to become a real person in your own right. You know what I mean? And who was it said something I did or didn't do, and I couldn't think of what they were talking about. Like this guy, this doctor saying that I didn't seem to have much, I had so much against me, and I was wondering, did he know? No, he didn't know, but the years like I went to seminary, and
probably not.
no, he
Yeah.
didn't. And that was some wonderful place. No hoopla, no nothing. Go 3 blocks, get on the bus, go down there, and spend the day with that bunch running Wyoming Seminary, you know. And I remember it was really fun because at one point some of the young men who were coming back from whatever war they were fighting, they began to come to seminary. And I was trying to think, the one young fellow was well, there was one that was great, big, strong, kind of black-looking person, and then there was one who was smaller and light-colored and all, but they were coming to seminary to pick up what they needed to go on from there to college.
Right, that makes sense.
And there was this church over there, and of course seminary grew into some tremendous phys ed place, and I don't know if you've ever seen one of their magazines, but they just began to bring in all these young people who had been scattered for so long, and some of them going out into, say, army things and so forth.
Yeah.
Was
the big guy, was he named Frank? Does that sound, or Fred? Fred Townsend? Is that right?
Fred Townsend sounds like somebody Mama knew.
Mama knew. Okay, the name is familiar and I couldn't
Townsend is kind of south, southern name. But this, when I was there, was just recuperating. And, you know, if they, I mean, here's the seminary here, and one of the pastors' church was over here, and he was one of the ones that began to work on all this, you know. But I mean, if these guys came back from the war, whichever war that was, and Lou Gehrig, he was, you know who he was.
Yeah.
No, this was Lou something. But if you wanted to take a break from class, you went across the street on the other corner. And I can remember, and that he was small, but he had been away to the war too. And I just can remember some of these things. And and then there's one who was great, big and dark and everything. And if I went to seminary's Saturday night dance or something, he would take me home, and I often thought, I wonder what the neighbors thought about that. I mean, he was like,
big, huge guy, huh?
I told you about, he was trying to teach me to drive. So we come around this corner, like right here, and somehow I scraped some lady's car or something. And I think he, of course, immediately jumped out of the car as if he was driving it.
Oh, like took the driver's seat to protect you?
I don't know how he did it, because he was a big guy, and of course he knew the words to say and went right up to her and just said,
Yeah.
"Stay here," and
Yeah.
never even acknowledged that there was anybody else in the car, because
Uh-huh.
he didn't want something big against me.
Yeah.
And he was much older, and he looked like a great big bear or something from the jungle.
Yeah. Did he have a beard?
I don't think they would have permitted it at seminary.
Oh, okay.
But he was just, he was ahead physically and whatever he could accomplish from the kids that were at seminary.
Yeah.
And he looked after me a whole lot because he was trying to teach me to learn to drive.
Uh-huh.
And he would,
Was he a friend of either of your brothers?
Cameron or Westbrook?
Yeah.
No, I think both of them had friends otherwise, because neither one of them went to seminary. I don't know why that was. Maybe.
I think you went on a scholarship.
So they must have all gone to public schools then, those two.
Yeah.
And at that
Is
time,
that-
the public school was probably pretty good.
Is seminary where you learn to ride horses? Do you remember?
No, they didn't have. I just think I learned to ride horses just by whatever. I mean, whoever was hanging around on a Saturday afternoon or something,
Anywhere you could get on a horse?
And my dad's close cousin, what was his name? He had been in the war before that and was quite a horseman.
Was he in the cavalry in the First World War?
The First World War, he was something in that, because Nelson.
Oh, his cousin's name was Nelson?
Hmm. There was a Nelson in the southern group of people we had too, but this was
Right.
an older man,
Yeah.
and he may have, I don't know if he fought in the First World War or not, but he was very much, into horses and stuff like that.
Is he someone you could get a ride from or ride a horse sometimes?
Oh yeah, I think they tried a lot to open up those things to the younger people, because that's the only way that it could be carried on. If you
Yeah.
had a young person and you loved horses, okay, when you go out Sunday, put them on the back of the
Put 'em on a
horse,
horse, yeah.
or the front, and
Are you finished?
the men like that would, because Mama's, there were 3 girls in that family, and they weren't going to be doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Although they did teach the girls, I'm sure they taught them to ride, but,
Did Mama ride?
oh, I'm sure she did.
Uh-huh. Did Poppy?
You just, when he was younger, yeah.
Yeah.
When we, just as things came along, it didn't great big thing happen. It was just, maybe Uncle so-and-so was going to put his horse away. Would you like to ride around the corner,
Yeah.
And that's how they passed on a lot of stuff like that
Yeah.
with the ones who were older and had learned something. They would pass it on to the younger ones
Yeah.
to whatever extent there was possible.
Yeah.
And when we would go to, not Harrisonburg, that's Harrisburg. Harrisonburg. One is Pennsylvania and one is Virginia, but when
Harrisonburg is in Virginia.
Okay.
And Harrisburg
Is
is in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania's capital.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'd go down to, that was Aunt Mary's and Uncle Herbert's,
Mm-hmm.
and we'd go down there, and and there was two boys there. I think there was a Westbrook and a Nelson, because they were throwing a ball real low one day, and I had my little dog, and they knocked him out. They didn't mean to.
Like knocked him out cold?
I don't know, but they knocked him for a loop,
Whacked
you know.
him. Yeah.
And they were just in the backyard just tossing, and he was running up and down, you know.
Yeah.
And
Was
well,
that Dixie? Was that the dog?
it may have been Dixie.
Yeah, I think I remember you had a dog named Dixie.
Yeah,
when you
oh
were a
yeah.
kid. Yeah.
Like when we got somewhere near the front door. Oh, Miss Claire, I'm so glad to see you. It's black, and Uncle Herbert supported her and her children, and paid a lot of money to them, and she was totally devoted to Aunt Mary and Uncle Herbert.
Yeah.
And Uncle Carlisle and Miss Claire.
Yeah.
And she'd come in and Uncle Herbert and Aunt Mary, they would be given to that family all kinds of stuff, from clothes to money to everything, to teach them to come up, you know.
Yeah.
And she just idolized Aunt Claire.
They were close. Good. Like she loved her.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because
Is Aunt Claire? Is that Mama? Sinclair?
yeah, Sinclair. Sinclair, Aunt Mary.
And Mary was Mama's sister.
Yeah.
And then Uncle Carlisle would have been Poppy.
Poppy. Yeah.
And Uncle Herbert.
See, that's the shame of it. They begin to flit away.
Yeah.
And when we were there and going every so often to each family, we were all part of each other.
Yeah.
And
It keeps the connections tight.
yeah,
Yeah.
because Aunt Mary and Uncle Herbert, they had the three girls, I think.
Oh, okay.
Sinclair, Louise, and maybe Mary was one of them.
Okay.
But it was all, and you know, we were going back and forth between, they didn't come up north now.
Right.
But
you guys went back to
we went down back
Danville?
to Danville, or whatever the town was at that time. And the families were just kept real close, you know.
Yeah.
And that was, oh God, that was so tremendous, you know. And that stayed close for a long time, you know.
I sometimes wonder if all of those people are together now in the afterlife.
I think a lot, because you see, they thought and talked and knew about, they knew the Bible. And there wasn't, I wouldn't say that, you know, there wasn't any real foolishness, because if there was foolishness, I think one of the older ones would have stopped it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And any correction that the younger people knew, say the younger men or something, I'm sure one of the men in the group would have seen to that, you know. And I told you about in Mary's house. How did that happen? Something happened in Nelson, maybe. was, Mama, Mama, come quick, there's a bat in the bedroom. Mama, come get the bat. And little Mama would come in.
To get the bat out of the bedroom?
Somehow she'd get a broom, or maybe one of the other, one that worked for them. But, yeah, I can hear him yelling, He didn't want that critter in his bedroom.
And he needed his little mama to help him with it, huh?
Oh, and he was a big guy.
Yeah.
Nelson and Westbrook were both big. Uncle Herbert was big.
Uh-huh.
And they just, things just went,
Like clockwork?
well, it hadn't disintegrated and began to fall apart so much as it did later.
Yeah.
And, of course, the two things, one being from a northern family and one from a southern family, well, the northern and the southern, there was a lot of mixture there between them.
Yeah.